So now that we have that when we come to the list,
I can do it again alone.
these are all in there. We can just move this over. Don't be nice. It was working. We were kind of listed.
Yeah.
I got all excited.
Go down the line.
I have a couple minutes before the prescribed time.
You never know. I'm not. What about you guys? I don't remember. He's on. He's on. He's not.
Looks like one of the big.
Okay.
I forgot you weren't here. I'm sure.
You weren't here for me.
It was.
Okay, it is 1800 hours on the 11th of July of the year of 2023. I'm going to call the council member or the council meeting to order. Councilmember Green, will you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of the council.
Rose,
Here.
Burbank, here, Green,
Here.
Arsano,
Here.
Anderson, here.
Next item would be the agenda. Is it going to be accepted as presented, or is there any modifications?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 4 would be announcements, appointments, and presentations, and this would be a Comcast franchise and digital equity program. City Administrator.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. So our current franchise agreement with Comcast is set to expire mid-September of this year. The last 2 times that we've been through this, it was automatically extended from an original contract from 2008. Since 2008, there's been some changes. And so tonight we're joined by Jameson from Comcast to go over those changes. And then I've outlined next steps as well as copies of the agreements and ordinances to approve the last 2 extensions to your packet.
All right. Thank you, Courtney. Can you hear me okay through here? Did my close up? Okay, great. Good afternoon or good evening rather, and welcome Mayor Pro Tem Smith and council members. As Courtney shared, my name is Jameson Harris. I've been with Comcast for about 31 years. Assigned as the primary point of contact for the franchise between the city and Comcast. I also have my colleague, Joni Knowles, our director with the team. And really, we're here just to share a little bit of information about the franchise itself, as well as the proposed options that we presented back with Courtney for your consideration over the coming weeks. As Courtney had mentioned, it was 2008 when the last agreement was done, and there's been a lot of changes with the franchise, not with the franchise, but with the FCC specifically, what's in a franchise agreement. Franchise agreements got established in about 1984. When the FCC decided that every cable provider needed to have an agreement with each jurisdiction that outlines everything from permits, franchise fees, construction, police, welfare powers, all the different things that you can expect that are listed within the franchise agreement. The initial agreement that was done in 2008 was a 5-year term. One of the things I want to point out is with the FCC 626 order that governs how renewals are done. Cable industries have to give the local jurisdiction a 2.5-year notification of the intent to renew. So what that means is under a 5-year agreement, you get notifications every 2.5 years. Hey, this is time to renew. So a lot of cities, what we found, prefer to have the 10-year arrangement in place so that they don't have to devote as much administrative duties back to negotiating that agreement. 5-year agreements are certainly acceptable, and we're certainly willing to do that as well, but that is an option, and I wanted to point that out. The agreement that you're going to be presented is a one that was used from the city of Wilkeson. If you hadn't seen it, you'll get a chance to at some point, but the RCC is Rainier Communication Commission. They are an entity that represents Sumner, Ording, Puyallup, Pierce County, Ruston, several other jurisdictions to come together to do their franchise agreement. They also established the PEG, or Public Access Education Government Channel, which is the Pierce County TV. So the city of Buckley is receiving a PEG channel through a regional PEG channel that comes from Pierce County. That's part of it. The cities that most recently used and adopted the franchise would be Wilkeson back in October of last year. Pierce County, that Pierce County entity, just did their franchise under that agreement as well. Within this renewal, you can expect all the things like franchise fees, for example, which is what we pay back to the city of Buckley to be in your public right of way. And that's a fee that comes in every quarter, paid 45 days after the quarter ends. Right now, you're at the highest amount that the FCC allows, which is 5%. And that fee is based off of cable revenue from basic, expanded cable, premium networks like HBO, Showtime. It also includes fees that were paid by residents in Pierce County, or excuse me, in Buckley, that might be subscribing to something off the Home Shopping Network. So if they buy something and we get paid a commission, you get a portion of that as well. It's all everything from install fees and also equipment. Doesn't include bad debt. That is not something that's paid out on, but those are covered under the franchise fees. Let's see here. Some other things I just want to make sure I cover all the basics here. We talked about the last agreement, full agreement was done in 2008 with 2 5-year extensions. Again, we're proposing the new RCC model document, but you do have that right to just do a simple extension as well. Those are options. We feel that the new agreement best reflects any changes that have gone on with the FCC, and that will set us both up for the next 10 years if you have to go the 10-year period being fully covered. At any point, if there's a change that requires a cable company to do something different or to pay on additional services, or allows the city to collect a higher franchise fee, we are bound to honor that. So just the term does not hinder any sort of laws that might come into place during that agreement, if that makes sense. If there's anything specific that you have questions about a franchise or the renewal, I'm happy to answer those. But I kind of want to just give you some high level understanding of what's gone on in the last couple of years and where we're at today.
Council members, any questions for the kind gentleman presenting? Thank you so much.
Okay. Well, I appreciate your time so much, and I look forward to hearing back from you. If you do have additional questions, Courtney can send those over to me and we'll get those answered.
Okay, thanks, James.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, public comments. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the council? Or secondly, anybody on Zoom that is there that wishes to address the council?
Buckley Downtown Association would like to.
Buckley Downtown Association, please proceed.
Hello, Council. Amy Boucher with the Buckley Downtown Association. I reside in Bonnie Lake, Washington. So I just wanted to give an update on our hometown market. Thursday was our first market, and we got a really great feedback from the community. for being our first one for this year. I think it was really well attended. I just wanted to read off some comments that people had that came through town. So I'm just going to share those. So the two of these were fairly young families, and they were just super excited and just grateful to have the event in town. And so this was the Griffin family, said that they were so excited that Buckley is doing something for families. Their daughter is showing a piece of the art in the exhibit. So we're going to have the art exhibit down at Scoops on Thursdays. And the Coughlin family said, we're definitely be coming back next week. The activities for families with kids are what Buckley needs. Another one, the Smith family said, we're so fortunate to have people in our community who make these things happen. And they're from Enumclaw. And the other two people were from Buckley. Another lady who had came out, she's lived here for, she said like 20 years. And they're just really glad to see all this stuff happening, to have such opportunities to do multiple activities, to see the Tunes by the Trails and, the music down at Firehouse, the vendors at the market, soon to be the cooking classes this week down at La Sorelli Inn. So there's just a lot of opportunities for people to come out and Buckley is going to have a lot going on Thursdays. And I think we're going to, because of all the activities and things happening, it's really going to draw a lot of people. And we have a really great opportunity to support each other in that. We told multiple people that didn't even know the Tunes was happening that, hey, go check out the Tunes by the Trails. They start at 6:30. So I think it's just a great opportunity. And we're glad that we can be a part of, making this a good thing for Buckley, our community, our businesses, and supporting each other in our events and activities. So thank you. And we'll see you next week with probably another report, our next month.
Thank you for that. Is there anybody else online or anybody in the audience that wishes to address the council? Hearing and seeing none, we will move on to committee reports. First one listed on the agenda would be the mayor's report, and I am not the permanent mayor, so I cannot speak to what he may or may not have had to share. So we'll move on to admin, finance, and public safety. So we'll revert back to my role as the chair of that, and I provided a piece of paper with the minutes to all the council members. So yesterday we met, and recruitment is as such. There's a lot of empty spots in Buckley. Management analyst for public works is being recruited. The utility worker for the wastewater treatment plant being recruited. Part-time admin assistant for the administration being recruited. Part-time senior center assistant, associate planner, part-time planning assistant, senior planner, and a utility worker for public works. A finance assistant, one, based on the city scale. It's been hired and will start on the 17th of this month. And Charity Roner is the new permit tech effective the 1st of July. So because of the longtime employee, Devin Boyle, who retired. So that's already in place. Special events, a lot of them coming up. Following their scheduled, Buckley Downtown Association Hometown Markets and Tunes by the Trail are on Thursdays in July and the first 2 weeks of August. Cruise Buckley will be this coming Saturday and again on August 19th, September 16th, and October 21st. There'll be a B&O half marathon on the 22nd of July. Cornhole tournament 1 week later on the 29th of July. Run to End Slavery, which is sponsored by the
Anchor House.
Anchor House. I'm sorry. Anchor House right down the street. Anchor House Coffee on the 5th of August. The Presbyterian Church, Buckley Presbyterian Church annual picnic will be at the Log Show grounds on the 20th of August. And White Sting Summer Shootout will be the 27th, and I'm not quite sure where that's going to be at, but that is listed as an event that's approved. Finance Department, audits on hold pending a bunch of paperwork drill. Council will receive mid-year adjustments and 2023 mid-year adjustments and 2023 mid-year report coming up at our next council meeting. Chief Alfano presented the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs crime report, drawing out of that the Buckley crime stats, the type of crimes and the amount that happened in 2022. And currently there are 2 entry-level candidates for police officer in the background process, as a recent Buckley PD officer left the city for another opportunity. And in the past, we've reported on and we've authorized, council's authorized the replacement of a pickup truck for the fire department, delivered, waiting upon outfitting so it can be put in service. Any questions on that? Perfect. Moving on to community services, Councilmember Green.
Yes, so we met July 3rd, 2023, before we were shell shocked from the fireworks. We looked at the City Hall expansion draft. So apparently they moved pretty quickly on that since you voted that on the 27th, I believe. And there's already a draft sketch out. We're still waiting on the cost estimate, and then we'll reconvene and talk about next steps. Planning department staffing update is that they continue to be very short staffed. Positions are still posted, and those are mentioned in your report. Grant applications and recent awards. So I first got to say that Erin Snodgrass is a grant procuring machine. So every time we have a committee report, she is coming with just a bunch of grants that she's either working on getting or have obtained, and just hats off to her. Can't say enough good about the work she does. So we were awarded the expanded learning opportunity grant for $30,500, and we'll see that tonight in the consent agenda. This will go towards tutoring, group therapy, mental health, and other services they'll be offered at the youth center. And the idea is that that money will be split between 2023 and the 2024 budget. We also received an extra $10,000 for the cannabis grant, and rest assured, this is for cannabis prevention. And we will also be submitting a grant to hopefully cover staffing at the senior center for the 2024 budget. Planning for revenue generating recreation. We had a conversation about potentially looking at revenue generating recreation. And one of the things that they're looking at is working with into the 2024 budget to increase facility use with the White River School District. And so that agreement will come to the full council soon for us to look at and decide on. Also, I'll be moving to online registration and bookings. And so this would help to facilitate rentals at Buckley Hall. Staff is looking to try a 1-year contract for online rentals and bookings and things like that. So proposal will come to us soon on that also. Next meeting is August 7th, 4:30 p.m.
Thank you, Councilmember Green. Any questions or comments on that? So we're going to move down to council member comments and go to the order. Anybody have anything to say? Councilmember Anderson.
I played pickleball today and it was very fun at the sports court. So I texted Aaron and said, this is awesome. There was a lot of families out there. I tied up my dog and he just watched, and it was a really fun exercise. Looking forward to meeting some other people doing it.
Piggybacking on that, when I was out on my daily walk, I noticed that the courts were, I want to know how we differentiate between, is it first come, first serve? Because I know that we provide the nets and people bring their own equipment to play pickleball. And when I went through there, say 11, 10-ish, both lanes were full with pickleball players. And we have basketball and pickleball, and I don't know if we need to, I don't know how we're gonna do that. I hope everybody's nice to each other. It's great that it's being used. It was paid for by this city and it's being used and I love it. That's just something that I have to say. And then while I'm on that,
Erin is actually on Zoom and she said it is currently first come, first serve on all the courts, but they're working on a possible reservation system, with the new online registration. So no problems so far at all.
outstanding. The only other thing on my daily walk, and I've mentioned this before at council before, there is a former fountain that is roughly right around where the skate park is in the green belt for former mayors. And I know that it is in disrepair and I'm not asking it for to be, I have some ideas for that. But can we at least, city administrator, get Mayor Pat Johnson's name on that plaque? Because she is a former mayor. If we could do that, we can do everything else after that.
Can do.
Anybody else? Council? Comments, go to the order. Nope, moving on to the consent agenda.
On tonight's consent agenda is a contract with AOC for reimbursements qualified under the State versus Blake decision, Pierce County Expanded Learning Opportunity Fund grant acceptance, and approval of the city council minutes from February 14th, 2023.
Looking for a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the shared stormwater facility maintenance agreement between Meadow Mountain Circle and the city of Buckley.
Move to approve shared stormwater facility maintenance agreement between Meadow Mountain Circle and City of Buckley.
Second.
Any comments, questions? All in favor, state aye.
Hi.
Opposed?
Motion carries.
Staff reports. City Administrator Brunel.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So tonight, I'm bringing forward a discussion that I think you all had last in 2018, but it's definitely been discussed at a variety of committee meetings, which is related to an urban growth area. So City of Buckley has applied for an urban growth area, which essentially would allow for us to annex additional land to alter the city's boundaries in the past. And we have been denied prior to 2018, which is our most recent request. And in 2018, we were given a counter offer, which we ultimately denied. And the reason for that, from my understanding, reading the memo, was because at the time there were countywide planning policies, which essentially gave us priority to obtain an urban growth area because we didn't have one. We are one of 2 cities in Pierce County with no urban growth area. And the intention for urban growth areas are completely connected to, without getting into the planning weeds, the Growth Management Act, which really sets population allocations throughout the state in order to monitor population growth. And so each city and each county are given population targets. In Pierce County, the county, so unincorporated land, has already exceeded population targets. And so now they are in a bit of a bind, trying to find ways to reduce population in some areas so that they do not expand or go beyond their population target. That's difficult for the city of Buckley's proposal because in order for us to be awarded a UGA, they would have to rezone land that is currently what's called Rural 10 into an urban designation, which would allow for additional population density. This year, the county council member, Dave Morrell, asked that the Pierce County come to the city of Buckley and work with us in order to find a UGA proposal that might work. And I think that in that case, he kind of stuck his neck out for both Buckley and Bonnie Lake. And I want to give him a lot of thanks for doing that because so far it's been a really collaborative discussion. but definitely met with some hesitation on the county side because they are combating this fact that they are already over their population standards. So with that, recently I met with the county and members of Bonnie Lake. There are 2 amendments that are being proposed under the county's comprehensive plan amendment process for this year. So this is not the city of Buckley going to the county, which would be the standard process and asking for a comprehensive plan amendment. This is the county coming to Buckley and saying, we have a comprehensive plan amendment on the table, and we want you to kind of draw us an outline for what you'd like us to consider. So based off of the conversations in the past, when there was that alternative, going back to the former countywide planning policy, we would have been able to have priority to have a larger UGA potentially, if and when the county decided to start dishing out UGAs. The countywide planning policies since have changed. And so there is no longer that type of prioritization. And so there is a possibility that by rejecting that UGA back in 2018, 2019, we may have made it so that we can't have a UGA in the future. And that's going to be something that we're evaluating right now based off of, again, those population standards, which are set by Department of Commerce and PSRC. And so the county now is being challenged with finding a way to potentially grant Buckley a UGA that would not increase density throughout the county. So we are going to instead recommend focusing on employment capacity because we're given 2 targets. One is connected to employment and the other is connecting to housing population. We all know, looking around, we're not having an issue with our population count right now. It would be difficult for us to say that we can't meet our target with the amount of land that we have available that has yet to be developed and the amount of development that's already underway. But we are having some difficulty meeting our job count. And so we're proposing that instead of going back with the full amendment, and if you turn to page 2, the first attachment in the packet, that we requested in 2019, we instead focus on the 410 corridor and then down towards the schools, down through Mundy Loss, as well as on the other side of Hinkleman. The reason that we're including the other side of Hinkleman is because we already provide utilities there. So to me, that feels like a bit of a no-brainer. What you can see also in this map, what's outlined in red is the area that the county gave us as a counter offer back in 2019 and that Buckley ultimately rejected because we were hopeful that we would be able to have a larger UGA at a later time and didn't want to lose our prioritization based off of the old countywide planning policies. So if we move forward this way, the school district has already indicated that they would love to give us a letter of support. They mentioned how wonderful our police department is to work with compared to Pierce County Sheriff specifically. And I've worked and spoken with planners at Bonnie Lake that if we do not get this UGA, there is precedence for us to annex schools alone. So even if that creates islands of the city of Buckley, we could potentially do that. But we're going to try to make a case during this comprehensive plan amendment that we get the property in between so that we can have additional tax revenue. A UGA does not mean an annexation. It's the first step. So we cannot change our property lines unless the county gives us authorization to do so, which typically comes from a UGA first, unless there's some circumstances like with the schools or with land that the city owns that we can move forward and annex without necessarily having it in our UGA. So tonight I'm looking for confirmation that you're okay with that plan. And then I also wanted to notify you that that second amendment, so Dave Morrell recommended 2. The first was that we revisit this proposal. And the second was that the county consider making all of the land on 410 that separates Bonnie Lake and Buckley from one another into a UGA. So our UGA boundary would end near the market, the Bonnie Lake Food Bank market. Both Bonnie Lake and the city of Buckley were at this time a little worried about that request and that proposal because we have no plans that would allow for us to expand utilities that direction or that would allow for us to, it's not been included in any of our planning thus far. And so for their timelines, we don't think we can put together a strong proposal in order to justify why that would make sense. The other reason is that a lot of that is designated as agricultural resource land. And there are several lawsuits that the county has underwent, as well as appeals on most every decision with some environmental groups that are really concerned about preserving that as agricultural resource land. So of those 2 amendments, one of them we're saying thank you, but we don't think now is the right time We don't have any of the plans to support it. We don't have the plans for the utilities to extend to that area. It's unlikely that Buckley would be interested in expanding our boundaries in the near future to include that additional land on 410. But for now, we would like to focus on this, where we do have the plans in place. We can support it with our infrastructure and our police and ask them to reconsider.
Councilmember Green.
So to be clear on the map, the area that you're supporting is up here, down here, but not this section here.
Yes,
Okay,
not this section here. Correct.
gotcha. Okay. I mean, my personal opinion on this is, I know we had kind of some conversations when Dave Schmidt was here, and we're faced with, I don't want to say resistance, but a little bit of resistance from the county, a lot of it didn't sound like it was going to happen. So if there's momentum at the county side, even if it's just a little bit, and thank God for Dave Morrell for going to bat for us, by the way. I think if there's momentum on that side, I think we would be foolish not to also follow that momentum and go for it.
Any other comments? I will just say that my ears have been wide open for years. And if we could get White River High School, the Early Learning Center, Mountain Meadow into Buckley, people will be very happy. And I will not disparage Pierce County Sheriff's Office. They're thin like everybody else is, but the schools in town get service from both Buckley Fire and Buckley Police. And the high school used to be here and it's not here anymore. And that's been a consternation for a lot of people. I think people would support that exponentially. Councilmember Burbank.
So, but when you say, at least getting the schools, that would not include all the schools in the district, because it wouldn't include Foothills, correct?
It would include anything that was roughly in these
Okay, so
map
just-
boundaries.
Okay, got it. Okay.
It could potentially, so in Bonnie Lake's case, the school that they annexed was pretty significantly outside of their city limits.
Mhm.
So I think it would be worth an ask if it was a direction the council wanted to move towards. I think that there's precedence for us to be able to make a good argument, and a school district that's very interested in supporting that argument for us to say we want to annex all of our adjacent schools.
Okay.
Any other comments? Seeing none. Thank you, City Administrator. We're into public comments again. Is there anybody in the audience or anybody on Zoom that would like to address the council? Hearing and seeing none, it is, let's see,
6:31.
18:31 PM on the 11th of July. We're going to recess the council meeting and go into executive session
For 10 minutes.
for 10 minutes.
To discuss.
And if we exceed, then the city clerk will announce that to everybody.
Will you please announce what you're going into executive session for?
Pending litigation.
Pending litigation. We're going into executive session for pending litigation.
Mhm.
How are we doing, Sleeper?
Perfect.
Or, I mean, where are we at on time?
You're good. Perfect. We convene at 6:41. Perfect timing. 6:41, yeah.
6:41.
We didn't take 3 minutes.
We will reconvene after executive session back into regular session at 6:41 PM on the 11th of July. Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Opposed? Go forth into the night. Have a great summer evening.
See y'all.
I know. Yeah. See you tomorrow.
Same place, same station.